Welcome, everybody. Saturday morning with Clear Mountain Community. It's lovely to see so many people made it over here from Skinner next door. That's great. Hopefully it wasn't too big a surprise for people. But yeah, really nice to spend the mornings with all of you. We have a few announcements. Maybe we could start with Matt. Is there a mic that... Oh, we got one. Actually, Chia, we got...
I have a few announcements all by myself. One is Clear Mountain book groups, which are called Sariputta study groups. We're encouraging everyone to considering becoming a part of one of these study groups. They exist now. We have 4 of them right now, or 3 and one new one. The idea of these book groups are to deepen your own practice, and I think it's also a really great way to build community. I think a lot of new people in particular here don't really have a lot of Kalyanamitta spiritual friends in their lives, and it's a really great way to build that as well. They are self-organized book groups, and they are on the MITA Meetups page, and I'm going to have QR codes up in the back. I got here late, I apologize. But let me give you right now, the existing one. There's one in Portland for the people who are online or people in Portland that meets in person. It's The Island. The book they're covering is The Island by Ajahn Amaro and Pasano. There's Inspiration Circle, which is here in Seattle, which is reading the Majjhima Nikaya. They're reading a sutta each week, I think each week. There's Rob's Mob, which is the people that are reading Seeing That Frees, which is an online group by Rob Berbea. And the newest one is one being created by Doran Tal, which is going to be online, that is On the Way to the Far Shore, Lee Brasington's new book. And you should feel free and motivated and encouraged to start your own groups as well. Yes?
And Clear Mountain Discord, Buddha Dhamma. We just started.
And the Clear Mountain Discord reading Buddha Dhamma, and they just started. I'm just parroting what Juanita's saying right now.
Yeah, we finished already, but the people who come later, they want to start again, so we start all over.
Oh, great, fantastic. And as everybody knows, there's the Majjhima Nikaya on Sundays, led by our honorables here. Our venerables, our honorable venerables is what I meant to say. Okay, I'm full of announcements today, so I got 2 more, right? One of them is, I just noticed this morning, for those of you who did or didn't go through our, what was the name of that book? Say What You Mean, the Oren J. Sofer Wise Speech training that we did over the course of a year. Oren J. Sofer is starting on Tuesday a Wise Speech 6-week course, which by donation, along with Barry Center for Buddhist Studies. And that is, it's by donation. It is going to be, I know this is for us that are near retirement or whatever, best, it's going to be 9:15 to 11 a.m. on Tuesdays. I know for working people, it's discriminatory, but this is what we have gone. And then my last announcement is, I don't know if you know, when Ajahn Nisapo, and I don't know if you were with him, Ajahn Kovalo, they came here to St. Mark's when we initially arrived, and they told them what their project was, and the head pastor, I don't know, what do you call him? Reverend Thompson? The most reverend, the honorable, venerable, most Reverend Thompson, pulled out his checkbook and wrote us a check. And they give us this space freely every week, or they give it to us all the time, even not every week. And we can show our appreciation if you like. You can show your appreciation if you like. There's a box in the back, and it's a way that we can show them how much we appreciate what they're doing for us. Okay, that was kind of long. I apologize.
Perfect. No, thanks a lot, Matt.
Okay.
And those Sariputta study groups really are a great chance if there's a book on that list that you want to read more deeply, to hear other perspectives from. It really is a great forcing function to get yourself through a good book. And I come every week to the Seeing That Frees and the Mission Majjhima, and I just really love it. So yeah, snap that QR code or whatever you do with the QR code. So.
And if you have any questions, you can contact me. My last name is Warning, W-A-R-N-I-N-G. It's mattwarning@gmail.com. Or you can see me here if you're here.
3 sadhus for our most honorable Matt Warning. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Ajahn Kovilo is always inviting me to start study groups with him. So this is your chance to channel your inner Ajahn Kovilo. So really, we do encourage people to take a look at the Mitta Meetups page, subpage on our website, and there's a lot of really beautiful community building going on through that. So a few things. One is thank you everyone. We are here this week. There's some sort of carnival going on over there, which sounds really fun. Let me know how it is if you all go visit after this. I don't think you're actually allowed to go, so. We've made a few announcements these last few weeks about just, a few years ago, we expressed interest in coming to Seattle. Dave and Allison offered to host us for 2 weeks, and it's been 4 years, and so we... What? We have been checking in. We have, we are still welcome, but we did open up the invitation for people to let us know if there might be another living situation where we could just give Dave and Allison a little bit of space every now and again. Just so people know, that's been taken care of. A few really wonderful and generous people came forward to offer us places to stay. So beautiful to see that generosity. And for now, actually, we're all kind of still quite happily settled at Dave and Allison's, and we might just have a bit of a chance for a few weeks elsewhere during the summer. So just 3 big sadhus for everyone who came forward with generosity, and for Dave and Allison as well. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We need, we'll have an interfaith Taizé service with St. Mark's. It's an interfaith a service we do once a year with them as a show of friendship, and it's going to be June 10th, Tuesday evening. You can see that on our website. We need one more person to read some Buddhist verses for the Clear Mountain side of that. If you're interested in being such a reader, talk to Louis, who is there. That's Louis, all right? So feel free to talk to him. It's a beautiful chance to kind of represent the Buddha's words in a shared space of harmony. We'll also have Taizé chanting practice at 11:45 over in Skinner, but we'll meet maybe here at 11:45. Okay, great. So if you're a Taizé chanter, we'll meet here. We have the June 28th, our almsgiving ceremony, which is our big annual celebration of the community and gathering support and kind of inspiration for the next year. And we'll have Longpo Sona this year, Ayananda Bodhi, Ayanyanika, Ayasuvijana, Venerable Kunga, a bunch of wonderful monastics coming. And we're gathering volunteers for that. So if you're interested in being a volunteer and helping with that, there's a sign-up sheet for different volunteer positions in the back on one of those tables. Bonnie, anything to add to that? It's really a fun and a beautiful event. So really do, consider coming to help with creating it. And please write your email clearly. I've spent a lot of time sleuthing for emails now, and so. And finally, our siblings, our monastic siblings at Pasadi Vihara, Ayanyana and Ayasuvijana in Olympia, they're just wonderful bhikkhunis. And just so people know, in our tradition, we don't touch money, we can't store food, which means every day we're dependent on the generosity of people for food. And there's an alms calendar on Pasadi Vihara's website. It's looking a little bare for June. So if people really, I just encourage you, make it, put in a reminder on your calendar to kind of just check in on these really wonderful monastics. And if you're inspired, then that's a good chance to give. So their website, pasadivihara.org, PASSADDHIVIHARA.org. So, yeah, that's important. Okay. Yeah, I think 3 sadhus for me. I just nailed all that. Oh, thank you. Thanks. Thank you. One final day, we're doing, people know about every 6 weeks we do a community story session. So after the guided sit, we'll lead with a Q&A, so just 20 minutes of all the questions which have been piling up, a chance for people to ask them of Ajahn Kovilo and myself. So feel free to percolate a little about that. And then we'll open it up to community stories and just a chance for people to come up and share based on the question, how did you come to the Dhamma and what has it meant to you, even this last year, or just in your life in general. So just, if you weren't going to proliferate during meditation, now you might. And yeah, but consider if you haven't shared with the community, it's quite precious. And even if you have, there might be a chance for a second coming up.
Okay, so we can chant together. Is it the first? Next week. The first Saturday? Yeah. In Thailand, it's the first. Yeah. So yeah, the first Saturday of every month we have a chance to do the 5 precepts, but today being the last Saturday, we'll do the Buddha's words on loving kindness on page 37. Now let us chant the Buddha's words on loving kindness. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born. May all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child. So with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world.
So we'll meditate together for about 20 minutes. Begin by setting your body upright. You can imagine that you're balancing your spine on the tailbone like you might balance the handle of a broom on the palm of your hand. Upright. Notice any tension in the forehead. Soften it. The eyes, soften it. The jaw. Smile in the inside of your mouth. Notice any tension in the belly and soften it. And just allow your breathing to naturally deepen and slow. Come to center. Now, if you want, you can imagine the body as three rough chambers overlapping slightly, a bit like a Venn diagram. One from the ground up to around the heart. One from about the heart up to the nose. And from the nose up to above the head. And a very simple image you can use here is an oil lamp. You can imagine the lower chamber as a wick leading up to the tip of the wick, which is around the heart. That tip of the wick is the center chamber. And the flame, the light, is the upper chamber. So begin just by placing your awareness in that lower chamber, the wick. You can allow awareness to move down the wick on the exhale and come up the wick on the inhale. Some people find it's easiest to imagine it just going up and down. Or you might find it feels a bit more natural to imagine awareness circling, going down the front of the body on the exhale, up the back with the inhale. Or up the front on the inhale, down the back on the exhale, whatever just feels natural. And over the course of about 10 breaths, you can allow awareness to slowly spiral in and up towards that tip of the wick, the center chamber. So initially it can be quite a large circle down, to the ground, and then up, inhale, up to the tip of the wick. Just touching that point of the breath on the top. And with each breath, let it spiral up a little bit higher, a little bit more of a narrow circle until you're circling just in that middle chamber at the tip of the wick. Your attention on the point of the breath at the nose. As if you're drawing up oil along the wick until it's all gathered right at that tip. And rest there in that center chamber at the tip of the wick, the nose, for about 10 breaths. And as you stay there at that center point, you might find the candle spontaneously lights. And after 10 breaths, you can allow your awareness to open into that top chamber, as if the candle has lit with its own light. And similarly to the bottom chamber, you can start with a wide scope. Allow awareness to move up to above the head, all the way up the flame on the inhale, and come down to the tip of the nose, the wick on the exhale. You can allow awareness to circle up and down that upper chamber, the flame, about 10 times. But similarly to the bottom chamber, it should naturally begin to spiral into the center again over the course of those 10 breaths. You might find there's this burst of light. Awareness is wide. The flame is wide. And then allowing awareness just to slowly spiral into that center point again, the tip of the wick, the nose. And then just rest there in that center chamber, the tip of the wick, again for 10 breaths. And you can just repeat this, allowing your awareness to move, circle around the lower chamber, the wick, for about 10 breaths, spiraling up to the tip of the wick, the center chamber, the nose. Resting there at that precise point for about 10 breaths. And then allowing awareness to expand upwards into the flame, circling around that upper chamber for 10 breaths until it spirals back to the center. And then you can just rest at that center as long as feels good. It doesn't have to be exactly at the nose. After a time, you might find awareness is balanced between the heart and the nose. A small bubble of awareness that follows the breath. Just a gentle little flame at the very tip of the wick. And you can follow the breath there as long as feels comfortable. But then if the mind gets restless, just repeat. Lower chamber, spiraling to center. Upper chamber, spiraling to center. Balancing the energies of earth and heaven. Groundedness and brightness. Always aiming to return to that home point at the very center of the body. And then remaining there for as long as feels comfortable, right at the tip of the wick. So who found that visualization confusing-ish? Okay, good, okay. Who found it a number 5 on the scale of confusing to somewhat clear? Who found it somewhat clear? Pretty clear? Okay. Oh, can't really read that, but good enough. I've been trying to come up with the right, that's my main meditation method, but I have been trying to come up with the right simile for it that people will understand. So please feel free to come and give me some feedback on it over time. There's a process of balancing the sort of Taoist energies of earth and heaven coming to the center in the heart and the nose, but it's very hard to come up with an image that seems to work, so interested in that. So today we have our Q&A session. So for about 20 minutes, Ajahn Kovil and I will take questions, and people in the audience can raise their hand, and we'll have a mic runner come to you. If you're on Zoom, raise your cartoon hand, and our AV crew will call on you. Additionally, after about 20 minutes, we'll open things up to community stories. And most of you have seen us do this before, but it's a somewhat, I think a pretty important piece of Clear Mountain is once every 6 weeks or 2 months, Ajahn Kovilo or I will sort of scoot over and we'll open up the seat. And basically just if we have the prompt, how did you come to the Dhamma? What has it meant to you? And if anyone's inspired to speak about that and just share their path in Dhamma, or if this last year has been very potent, you can speak to this last year as well. But I find those larger stories of how people came to the Dhamma very touching. Then basically just come up and share. Usually we ask that people are mindful that there's quite a lot of people in this community, so keeping sharings to 3 to 5 minutes is good. And it is recorded. If you don't want us to put up you in the live stream, feel free just to talk to our AV crew afterwards and ask them to edit your part out. That's just fine. And really considering it, if you're a bit nervous or shy about sharing your story, just considering it a gift to the community. It's quite sacred to see people's path to the teaching, and it's really touching every time we do it. We're never quite sure what will come out of it, but it always feels sacred in the end. And finally, just to acknowledge it's quite an act of courage to come up here, so if you do see someone who's shared, feel free to approach them after the gathering and just thank them for their kind of chutzpah coming up. So we'll begin with Q&A. Trenton, yeah.
I have a question for Ajahn Kovilo. Last week you mentioned love in the guided meditation. Would you be willing to share a definition of love?
Yeah, that was, for people who weren't here, it was just experimenting with, for me, and I think for many people, using a mantra or some kind of meditation word can really help you stay with the breath. So if you're just trying to watch the breath without anything else, it's easy to just stray off somewhere. So the Thai forest tradition that we come from, the main meditation word is just Buddho, which means awake. So that is great for a lot of people, but extending that, so I've been experimenting with a 3-part mantra. So for 6, 3 in and out breaths. So Buddho, Dhammo, Sangho on 3 successive in and out breaths. And to make that more meaningful, rather than it just being a way to count the time and the breath, you can take Buddho as just a symbol for wakefulness, so being awake, and Dhammo, a symbol for that which is true. And yeah, being wakeful and true are 2 aspects of a human experience that most people want to lean into and experience more of. And for Sangho, just being a symbol for love. And here, yeah, really referring to metta or loving kindness. Ajahn Nyaniko uses the term pure love as a translation for metta, which is usually translated as loving kindness. And it is, yeah, Greek had a number of different words for different types of love. You've got philia, which is brotherly love. You've got storge, which is, I think, family love. And then you've got agape, which is quite similar to metta, or just universal love. It's not directional. It's not shooting your metta lasers at anybody. It's just an emanation, kind of a radiation of a loving friendliness. And friendliness is also really good. So for me, that word isn't problematic. It's just, yeah, the concept of a pure love and a friendliness, the essence of friendliness. And I think that can be a nice way to think about Sangha, is just the external love, both our relationship to that external and that external relationship to us as being one of friendliness and love. So that's, I think, what I was experimenting with. And yeah, with any English words, Pali is just so beautiful because the words really do oftentimes have a very clear valence. Metta is just always positive. It's not mixed up with all the types of difficult loves that we have in English. So yeah, people can experiment with that, and if it works for you, having Sangha be equated with love, then experimenting with that, just a softness and a kindness. So that's kind of what I was pointing to. Yeah. Do you want to add anything?
So about the meditation that you just led, did you say the wick was at the nose? Okay, because it felt like it was at my heart.
This is the problem with, so yeah, for me, there's the actual center point is somewhere, it's a balance between the heart and the nose. There's like a clarity at the nose, but a centeredness to the heart. And I find that's where I actually come to the center. But every time I try to add like some nuance like that, people push back and say I'm not being clear. So I've been sort of caught between these two things. But no, I have the same experience. With me, the center point is this place somewhere between the nose and the heart. And yeah, good read, exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, I was confused, but I was able to get below my thoughts into my body, so that was beautiful.
Yeah.
It felt like love, yeah.
Thank you, I really agree. That's good feedback, by the way, thank you. I might make a PowerPoint, Ajahn Kovilo says. I should make a PowerPoint. We should start a book club.
My question is about the concept of merit. I hear that word used a lot, that you can accumulate merit, you can dedicate merit. If you can accumulate it, can you lose it? What things are even meritorious? I've heard people have a good death because they've accumulated a lot of merit in their life. How do we use that concept in our everyday life? I don't use it. It's sort of a new word that I've heard. So can you speak to that?
Yeah, thank you very much. Great question. I think a lot of people have that same question. In English, you just find it in the context of Boy Scouts and, I don't know, merit badges, exactly, yeah. And yeah, it does, when you first hear about it, it does seem like some kind of esoteric or spiritual economy, this kind of tit for tat, I do this and I get this type of thing. And yeah, the Pali and the Thai are much just less complicated. So the Thai is boon. You sometimes hear this boon. And so oftentimes I'll translate merit as the English word boon, B-O-O-N. You've got this boon in your life. And yeah, it is, I think one way, the Buddha said, he was talking to monks, and there is this tendency, this kind of macho mentality for when people first come to a spiritual life and start believing that it's possible to transcend, or at least to really lessen their anger and delusion. That it's possible to attain enlightenment, and you might start looking down on the boon practices, the merit practice of just being generous, being a friendly person, creating concord in your family or whatnot. People can look down on that. So the Buddha was addressing a group of monks and said, monks, don't look down on punya, don't look down on merit. Merit, punya, is just another word for happiness. So that's one way to conceive of it. Conceiving it as something which, that you're accumulating. A related practice is sharing merit. And that really is a useful practice. And however the psychodynamics of that work, whether we've got this internal merit bank account and we're like transferring to other people, or however it works, it's the process of dedication. Like if you've ever had a book dedicated to you, it feels really good. And I think that's just the main principle of dedicating merit. It's like, I've done something that's good, and recognizing that so much of our Western culture is about fault finding and getting better and better at seeing faults. And it's really easy to have this negativity bias where you just focus on all the things that we did wrong in a day, and that can be the shadow of an afternoon or a day. Whereas if you have this practice of transferring merit, dedicating merit at the end of a day, just recollecting the good things you've done. We spent all morning together trying to meditate, trying to examine these teachings of the Buddha, and remembering that, and then just saying, if there was any goodness of it, just like it's as if I wrote a book this morning, and I dedicate that to any being that might be able to hear that. I dedicate the goodness of my life, this merit, to all beings. And that, in itself, it does brighten the mind. Focusing on the good things that we've done is a very good habit, even if you don't believe in some kind of, if there's nothing else to it, then it's still good to brighten the mind and be able to realize that we do a lot. And this is one type of doing merit, is to recollect the merit that we've done and to transfer it. So that's a little bit. There's a lot to say, though. So I'd be curious, Ajahn, if you have more to say there.
Oh, that was a great rundown. Wholesome happiness, I think, is a great translation, and it is often associated with kind of this good karma done that will come back to you, whether as happiness in the moment, which is its own merit, like you give and you feel joy, but also this acknowledgement that the world sometimes answers as well. People know you're generous, they give to you, or they respect you more, etc. There's a question when I gave the talk on karma, like, what's the distinction between punya, like this merit, and like the super mundane path towards awakening? And I think they just overlap a good deal. Often if you give with the goal of like, okay, this will come back to me, that might just be kind of a purely, a lower intention. But if you give with the thought, okay, this is a beautiful act, it's part of me giving up this sense of self and towards awakening, that's suddenly you're bringing the path and this practice of merit all into one, and it supercharges it basically. And with dedication of merit, it is a strong practice, especially towards the dead in Thai. And this acknowledgement by the Buddha that there are beings in realms somewhat near to us that sometimes can actually receive that goodness. And rather than it being, like Ajahn Kovilo said, an esoteric economy, just you're inviting someone to identify with the goodness you're doing. That's it. It feels good if you're like, I gave a donation and I thought of you the whole time. It was you in my heart, and it's that simple. But I think most cultures remember their dead in this way, and only kind of in elements of Western secular culture have we totally let that go. So.
Just real quick, there is a great quote in the canon where the Buddha talks about storing your money where it can't be taken away by kings, i.e. taxes, and it can't be taken away by thieves, i.e. theft, and it can't be taken away by fire, can't be taken away by flood, and that storehouse is this storehouse of merit. So in terms of it disappearing, it's like you can, store up merit and can lose the habit of making merit. Like if I just have a great habit, I do it every day for a year, I give some piece of food before I eat to someone else. If I don't do that, then I'll be losing the habit of mind to be able to make that kind of merit, to be able to do that kind of good. But in terms of all the good I did last year, that doesn't disappear. It's still there, in a sense. Yeah.
This is a really fun topic. One of the suttas, I think maybe Ajahn Kovilo is referencing, or it's adjacent, is the Buddha says, when the house is on fire, the vessel salvaged will be the one of use. So when this world is on fire with birth, aging, and death, that which is given is well salvaged. So all we keep is what we give away. only what we give away is what we actually keep. And that's the inversion. Like Eden's right here. You just have to invert everything you see into this negative photograph and see that all we give away is that's what we actually end up keeping with us. And do you all want to hear like a slight ghost story? It's okay. So I was staying with a very secret Kruba Ajahn. Like not many people know about him, but he's the last novice that Ajahn Chah ordained. And when Ajahn Chah asked why he wanted to ordain, he said he wanted to fly. And Ajahn Chah said, best just to fly over the defilements. So a very Ajahn Chah answer. But he's a very special Ajahn. I lived with him for a year, and really powerful mind. I'd see him bless things, and all of his hair would stand up on end, like, and one day there's a nurse that came to the monastery named Yom Nit, and this Ajahn said, Yom Nit, do you have a blind black cat? And Yom Nit said, no, but yesterday I was driving and I saw this carcass of this black cat on the side of the road with its eyes all crusted up. And I felt the surge of loving kindness. And Ajahn Tong said, yeah, actually I had a nimitta, a vision last night, and that cat came to me and it said that it felt your love and it wanted you to do good in its name and dedicate the merit to it. So, I mean, it's very foreign to our secular culture, and you don't have to believe in these things, but it's hard to come out of Thailand without kind of thinking there might be more going on than we think. So whenever I see something, a dead animal, like just remembering that and how much more our own relatives, and like Ajahn Kovilo said, even if that's not true, at least it is a good way to change your relationship to the dead, is remembering goodness in their name. I think we have room for one more. Kirk/Zoom, via Kirk. Maybell or Mabel, please.
Thank you, Venerables. I would like to ask, in relationship to grief, there is grief rituals and invitations, even from monastics, to grief, and there are benefits to opening the heart, dropping delusion, and the emotional nature of grief and the process seems to me contrary to equanimity. And how can I understand the process of grieving and the invitation to grieve so I can accept what's going on, accept reality as it is, and also consider the Brahma Viharas and the Four Noble Truths? I think I have a little confusion about the process of grieving and the teachings. Yeah.
So just to check, that was about grief and grieving?
Yes.
I heard greed at first, so
Grief.
yeah, very different.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mabel. Yeah, no, it's if we live long enough, it'll be a part of all of our lives. And truths, the first noble truth is the truth of dukkha, or the truth of the whole spectrum of loss, losing that which we love, being separated from that which we want, being associated with that which we don't want. These are all just the shades of dukkha, the shades of suffering, stress. And the Buddha gave duties or moves he associated with each one of these Four Noble Truths. So the first noble truth is to be known. The duty, when you see dukkha in your own heart, whatever the level of that, the immediate human response, or even not human, just sentient response. You've got little slime molds and things that as soon as they get like dukkha, they're just like, whoa, don't want to do that. You poke them, and they're like, quit poking me. So like no sentient being wants dukkha. And the Buddha's genius was to not, to not necessarily just recoil from the pokes of a life. And grief is that. So when we feel this dukkha, the duty is to understand it, and that's very difficult for all the reasons that it's hard to be with pain, and grief is intense, intense, acute and sometimes prolonged and chronic pain. So it's a good test, and it's a good a good learning experience, even though it feels so hard. But it can be a learning experience if you can sit with it and just not lean in. So this is, with the things that we want, the pleasurable things in the world, the human sentient response is just to lean in, to want more of that, to just feed off of the beautiful and tasty things of the world. And our response to the things we don't like, all of the separation and loss that we experience, is to lean away, to push away, whereas the Buddhist path is one of being able to just sit with balance, or stand with balance, move through the world with balance, and not have to recoil from the things that are unpleasant. So it's good training, and to be able to frame it like that hopefully can give some solace as we stay with the pain of it.
So I think we do have to wrap questions up and maybe move to community stories. So once again, the prompt, how did you come to the Dhamma, and what has it meant in your life? And if you have gone before, maybe just opening up room for those who haven't first. And please hold the mic close to your mouth. This is very common. Very, very, very common. In fact, it's so common that, Rick, would you have the duty of going like this? Okay. And, do we have another, sort of, can someone lend us a cushion that we can have the layperson sit on? Is that okay, Jean? Thank you. Thank you, thank you. And I'll just move over and people can sit here. We'll need one more mic, the guest mic, great. And after each person shares, just feel free to raise your hands in Anjali, and we'll save the sadhu for the very end. So just inviting people to come up and share with the community.
Well, good morning. I think no one's more amazed than I am to find myself sitting here now. My path to the Dhamma began with my parents' experience in World War II, particularly my mother's. She was married and pregnant when this guy came home from the service and simply dumped her. So she was a single mom in 1945. She had also been subject to sexual traumas when she was young, and when she was pregnant with me, her father died in a motor vehicle accident. Consequently, when I came along, she wasn't exactly able to be present in a relational way, and my attachment to my mom became very problematic. And my response to that was to basically check out, dissociate, go off into my fantasies, and avoid approaching people, a pattern that has continued very strongly in my life. My father's family in particular was a violent family. There was 3 murderers in my family. My grandfather had been a Hell's Angel and killed 2 men, had sexually assaulted a number of people, and was pretty violent. My uncle was a policeman back in the day when racism was overt, and he killed a number of people. And my father also, during the war, had killed a fellow serviceman whom they found out to be gay, and he told me later, yeah, we found a faggot in our troop and threw a blanket over his head and took him out to the bushes and beat him to death. I grew up in a world of criticism and alcohol and violence, and believing something wrong with me. I grew up believing I'm a piece of shit. One result of this was I was an easy target for a sexual predator when I was 8. And this went on for 3 years. He ultimately raped me, and I was drinking pretty heavily at 11, at least regularly. However, the world for me became very dark when my first boyfriend, Russell, at 14, shot and killed himself. And I gave up. So this outer life just caved in. I gave up. I was very bitter. However, in that cave-in was this part of me. It was looking for light, some sort of light. And I could always read. I had my great-grandmother taught me how to read. She was marvelous. She came over to California in a covered wagon, my great-granny. Beautiful woman. She always spoiled me, gave me little bits of candy. So I could read. And that has been a strength. Studying has been a strength. So I was reading theology, spirituality. I was at 17 reading Sigmund Freud, General Introduction to Psychoanalysis. That was no fun to be around. So I could study my way through universities and doctorates and that sort of stuff. I went on through various careers, and there was periods in my time in my 20s when I was homeless and in jail. And through the kindness of some people, I found my way to the body. Somebody showed me some massage, and I found out I was good at it. So I was able to build a life, and ultimately got into chiropractic and sort of built a life. And then a divorce absolutely destroyed that. And once again, I was at ground zero, looking up into the darkness, wondering where the light is. And blessings be, in 1988, I sat my first course with Goenkaji, and that was a lifesaver. By the way, I hated everything. We were in this little cabin in the woods, 100 of us in this little room. I hated the schedule. I hated the food, especially the rice and tofu. I hated everything, and I was sitting there in my back row, pouting and practicing. And two things happened. In like in day whatever 7 or 8, 5 in the morning, a storm takes the power out. So fuck, now no light, no fans, and what the hell's going on? I hate this shit. And we're sitting there in the darkness as the storm rages, and wow. Harry and Vivian, the teachers, walk in the door bearing armfuls of candles. They sat with us in the dark. And I went like, what's that? Kindness, no words. Something landed. So I kept practicing in the Goenka tradition. By like on day 9, I'm sitting there in my hunched little bitterness, and this I'd had a motorcycle accident in which I had died actually. And I was revived later by the paramedic, broke 2 vertebrae. Still the drinking and the carrying on. And I was sitting there with this burning thing in my back that just took my whole consciousness over, and I breathed, and this thing unraveled and dissolved. I'm like, what was that? And the misery just dropped by about 1/10 of a degree. So I was hooked. So for the next 27, 8 years, in my own faltering way, still having some, shall we say, behavioral issues, I sat 12 to 15 of Goenka's 10-day. I sat with him a few times, actually. I got to ask him some questions, Goenkaji. I went to him once, just after I'd had a course, and he's a big fat man sitting on a stage, and I go sit down, and I go, Goenkaji, I sit, I just get tighter and tighter and tighter. And he goes, oh, just move around. And he's this big, I'm like, so that's really got me into the yoga part. Like, I can do this. I ended up teaching yoga in San Francisco for 15 years. It was a marvelous experience. So I sat with Goenkaji for 27, 28 years, did 12 to 50 of the 10 days, 3 or 4 of the 20 days, and 6 of the 30-day courses, which were monumentally transformative for me. I also noticed in 2016 that there was a part of me that was simply just fucking rigid, unyielding, dug in, right? Like really fucking dug in. And this is where, in moving to the PNW, I just knew something was off. And through the Goenka group, I found the monks coming to our Hillsborough Hall, and that's where I first met Ajahn Siddhanto, and it was through Pacific Hermitage that I had the great honor and privilege to meet Ajahn Kovalo, who needed a ride. and Ajahn Nisabo. We were there in the rain. And I remember saying, you need a mic? I'll get you a mic here, whatever. So and so coming to this version of the Dhamma practice, I felt like this pot, this plant that got lifted out of a pot with, all root bound. And I find myself growing in new ways where the Dhamma is something I live. And frankly, as a psychologist now, again, my love of studying, psychedelic therapy has just dissolved some shit that I couldn't get at. Felt like my foundation was rusted shut. So this path is opening for me now. The Dhamma is here for me in this Sangha. I'm immensely grateful. And my dear friend Randall is here today. He's come up from SoCal. We're working on our own model of therapy and physical training together. So my path to the Dhamma is here, and it's a miracle.
Charles. Hi everyone, I'm Alejandro. I have a sharing and also a huge thank you, if I may, for the Cure project. So I met Ajahn Nisabo it'll be 4 years in September, just randomly at the Seattle Asian Art Museum. I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing here? Are you an angel on earth? I was like, wow, a Buddhist monk. And he told me about this whole project. This was September 2021. They're meeting under a tree. And I said, that's so cool. I'm going on a Goenka retreat. Do you have any tips for meditation? And that was it for 9 months. I was just going on meditation retreats. I didn't even try to engage with Clear Mountain. After my second retreat, I was like, I gotta find this guy. Because I think like many of us, we come to Buddhism or meditation just as a optimization project. How can I be a little bit better? How can I cope? How can I use this as therapy? After 2 retreats, I was like, there is more to this than just self-optimization, big mindfulness. So I started coming to Clear Mountain here in this hall, and I was so nervous. I wouldn't talk to anyone. It was like the first weeks I was like, I was like, this is cool, but, and then honestly, just a few weeks into coming here, I'm buying a ticket to go on pilgrimage with these two. I come here June. June will be 3 years. And then a few weeks later, I'm buying tickets to Thailand. I'm like, wow, I've never been to Asia. And so I went from, the heart moved a little bit. I went from treating this as an optimization project to kind of a knowledge exploration. So I think, like many of us, we try to treat, I was in the phase of the Dhamma practice that is like, oh, this is a philosophy of the mind. Let me feed the mind. Let me just feed the mind with the new Brahmin class, college professors. Let me let them explain Buddhism to me through all these books, and rather than like actually listening to the Ajahns. I think when I look back at that phase, it was like, okay, I was just obsessed with right thought, not right action, not the balance of right thought and right action. I'll tell you the most embarrassing thing I've done at Clear Mountain. We were a much smaller group 3 years ago, and I get an email about alms and it said, oh, hey, the alms calendar is, we haven't been doing our diligence as a community in going to alms. And I don't know if the Ajahns were aware of this. I just deleted that email. I didn't do anything with it. That was the most embarrassing thing I've done at Clear Mountain. I was like, I get an email for help from a community member, and I just delete the email. And that was somebody who was just obsessed with right thought. Right thought, right? Let me make sure I'm doing Buddhism right. And not so I go on the pilgrimage, I come back, And I think little by little, you start balancing right thought with right action. You start realizing all the little ways that just action changes your heart. And it also becomes much harder to, I would say this, like, a lot of my practice now is like being embarrassed with myself, that I acted a certain way, that I treated somebody this way, that I said that. So I'm very grateful for that, for being embarrassed all the time and humbled all the time. Like last October, I was randomly pepper sprayed right before work. And I would say I was able, honestly, I'm so grateful for this practice because I think when I think back at that moment, my first thought is, who else? You know, why would I want this to be anyone else? Why would I want anyone in this room to have been randomly pepper sprayed or anyone else in the world? It happened to me. And so I'm very grateful to genuinely believe that in my heart. Like, why anyone else? I'm very grateful for this practice when I fast and I'm hungry in the afternoon. And I'm grateful that I know hunger because now when I see the news and I see conflicts across the world and I see people walking long lines to get food, I'm grateful to genuinely know the experience, that human, to understand that human experience. So my Dhamma practice recently has just been being really embarrassed by how I act all the time, every day. Every day is a new opportunity to be embarrassed by myself. So, and I also want to, what's been meaningful this past year besides being pepper sprayed, so I would whisper, you know how we all whisper things in our heart, like, ooh, I hope this happens. One of the things that I would whisper in my heart is, oh, what if I could bring Dhamma to Cuba, where I was born? And I mean, just think about that, like, all of our wishes, you know, feel Herculean, you know, like, I just can't believe what has manifested over the past year. So, about a year ago, I was at Alms, and one of our community members, Brianna, was like, oh, I met a Cuban American nun who's starting a project in Cuba. I was like, can you believe that? Like, how many Cuban Americans are there? Not that many. And then to therefore be a Cuban American nun, I was like, wow, let me connect with this. Let me connect with her. Over the past year, this has been one of the most beautiful things in my life. I tell the Ajahns, I'm like, my heart is in two places, Seattle and Havana. I can't split it anymore, I'd die. Maybe. I want to say thank you to this community because some of you have asked me, you're like, oh, I wish I could go to Cuba with you. I was like, maybe one day, but I would say you're all there with me because every conversation I have here really does change the heart. And sometimes I'm so annoyed when I come here. I'm like, oh my gosh. But you know what? It's like what the Ajahns say. It's like a rock tumbler. It's like to get, to purify the rock or to, you know, get the precious metal out. It has to like go through a process of friction. And even the moments of friction just change the heart tremendously. It's like, I'm not the same Alejandro. It's just impossible. I'd be lying to say that not every single person here does not leave a fingerprint in my heart or in our hearts. You're all there with me in Cuba. And I want to say thank you. Thank you for all the beautiful moments and all the moments of friction that do challenge all of us. And I want to say thank you to everyone who's, I think you've seen on WhatsApp that I've asked for donations to Cuba. It's just been, the outpouring has been tremendous. It's over 120 items. I haven't even calculated what that is in dollar amount. I don't even think I don't know if I even want to. It's just so beautiful. If I had received 10 items, I'd be up here saying thank you. But to receive over 120 items, it's just so beautiful. So thank you for your trust in me. many of you may never go to Cuba. And so it is not lost on me the tremendous amount of trust you have put into me. So thank you. Thank you so much for that. Yes, I leave next week, next Saturday. So I have an obligation at work next Saturday. So this is, I'll see you guys in a few weeks after that.
Hi, just real quick, this is Allison, and I was on pilgrimage with Alejandro, and just so you all know, he was the steward of Clear Mountain mala beads that got carried around everywhere to be blessed. So there was right action there. You were doing so much, so just want to say that.
Let's do, James, can you hold on just for one person in person, and then we'll switch to you? Come on up, and then we'll go to James.
Hi, I'm really new here, and I'm really happy to be here in this Sangha. I would say in 1999, I was dealing with a lot of fear of dying young, like my mother and my grandmother. And I walked into a bookstore, and I just sort of walked over. I was feeling really desperate. I walked over to a shelf. I put my hand up and kind of blindly and picked out a book, and it was Pema Chodron, When Things Fall Apart, and I opened the book, and it said, Intimacy with Fear. And I just started reading it, and I realized I was reading the truth. I mean, I just knew in my whole being that I was reading the truth. And then I tried to meditate by myself for like a year, and it didn't go very well. And I thought, yeah, this is the truth. I got to follow this, but I didn't really know how. And then there was a lot more fear that was going on with some medical stuff I had to check out. And I heard about this meditation course with Rodney Smith, the Sims, and I thought, okay, everything feels like it's sort of falling off the cliff, and everything feels kind of gray, but there's this thing I'm going to go to in a couple months, and it feels like the only thing that's real, even though I didn't really know anything about it. I just was like, that's where I have to go. And I went and heard the Dhamma, and again, just knew in my whole being that it was the truth. It's hard to say this without crying. Yeah. So I just kept practicing, and you know, I read some, but mostly I just kept practicing, and I just knew that it was the truth because it kept showing up in my life in all these ways. And, you know, experiences like being caught in extreme anger. This was only a few years ago. Extreme anger. I was standing in my office. There was a thing with a medical thing and insurance companies, and I was so angry, and I was just enraged, and I was standing there. And something came to me that said, well, you have a choice. You can keep going with this anger, or you can let it go. And it just dropped, and I felt this bliss that I just couldn't even believe. And I just was floating, and I mean, I knew it was some kind of wisdom coming from the Dhamma. And you know, things like that just keep me in this practice. And so for many years now, I've been sitting with my teachers, Steve Armstrong and Kamala Masters, and I go there every year and sit with them for a month, but they're far away. So I have been missing in-person, larger Sangha, and I have a small group of other students of Steve and Kamala's, but which is wonderful, but it's really wonderful to be here with a larger Sangha in Seattle. So I'm looking forward to getting to know many of you and practicing with you, so thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. I think, what was the name of the person online again? James, please, go for it, James.
I raised my hand by accident. I actually did not want to speak today. This is my first time of joining you all, so I'm still getting the hang of it.
Where are you zooming in from, James?
I'm zooming in from Bainbridge Island.
Okay, great to meet you, James. We won't make you, talk about your entire history right now, but next time, maybe.
Maybe next. Thank you.
I think we have room for one more, but maybe kind of quicker rather than long. Matthew. And by that I mean Lewis.
Hello, my name's Lewis. Let's see. Through my 30s and 40s especially, I struggled with anxiety and depression and had every treatment the cornucopia of Western science I could consume from that cornucopia. And was having trouble leaving the house, trouble working. But my beautiful spouse had given me the little pocket version of the Dhammapada, and I'd read Alan Watts and a little bit and getting more into the kind of intellectual side of the psychological side of Buddhism. One day I was like trying to get up the courage to leave the house and just wasn't sure I was going to make it. And I was in the kitchen and I heard, "With our thoughts we make the world." And I was like, okay, this is either really good or this is really bad. And I looked out and the sun was shining and I was like, oh my God, I am doing this and doing this all to myself. This is me, this is it was like a dirty shower curtain came down, and it wasn't like it was the land of milk and honey after that, but that was a real pivotal point. It's like, there's a lot more to this than a really helpful philosophy and interesting psychology. And so that was my journey to Buddhism, my journey to Clear Mountain was I really wanted to fund Sangha because it was this triple gem thing, and okay, I need to do this, number 3. And I was like, get it all figured out. It's going to be a stone temple of some kind with monastics, and there's going to be palm trees, and and this is a gym? And I was like, okay. And then I was like, oh, okay, Sangha as practice. Just go in and just accept every little part of it. And that's been a beautiful journey for me since then. So thank you.
All right, now let's get 3 big sadhus all in synchrony. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We realize we only have so many terms of celebration, so we use that one a lot. Anumotana is the other one.
There's one, aho. That's it's a top Pali one, but it's not as fun. So one thing we do every Saturday is, as we mentioned, bringing other people into the space. So on our website, we've got something called the Blessing Braid, or requests for chanting. And this is a list, and any of you can add people to that list, and we just we'll keep those people in our hearts. We read out the names every week. It's people who are maybe going through a bit of a hard time. But maybe, Kirk, if you could read that list and people just open your hearts to these people.
Sahayako, going through chemo, spread care, Suk Hawaho and Ajans. Tundi, recent stroke and depression, send metta, Ajahn Gambiro and Ajahns. Kathy Jones, recently passed away, please share merit, Alf Tan and Ajahns. Javi Pitayakul, she passed away, please share merit. Requested by Sukanda Pitayakun, sister-in-law. Dean Coos died by suicide October 25th. Please send metta. Glenn Cuz brother. And that's it.
Thank you, Kirk. If anyone else has any other names to bring into the space. Charles? Marshall, who died by suicide. Yeah, Bonnie. Che, who had a stroke. Thank you. Bonnie? Border, sick cat. Yep, please. A 5-year-old girl who was murdered. Yeah. Peter, who recently died from Alzheimer's. Yeah, please sit. Sit. Sa, who's not doing very well. Yeah, please, Matt. Oh, sorry. Melissa, who passed away. Francesca getting a cancer biopsy on Tuesday. Yeah, please, Devin. Liz and Matthew recovering from surgery. Yeah, please. Brother recovering from surgery. Frederick and family. Okay, Jinya. Jonggon, who has cancer. Yeah. Gary. For Janaki, who underwent second surgery. Thank you, Gary. For Alan, treating bladder cancer. Okay, keeping all those names in our hearts, and we'll just sit with those names, all those people, all those beings for just a little bit, and then we'll dedicate merit to them. Okay, the chanting book, page 33. Just continue this practice with chanting together the verses of sharing and aspiration. This is the dedication, just however it might work. Any goodness, good intentions that we brought this morning, just dedicating those to all the people who we named and all the people who we didn't. Now let us chant the verses of sharing and aspiration. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, may my spiritual teachers and guides of great virtue, my mother, my father, and my relatives, the sun and the moon, and all virtuous leaders of the world, may the highest gods and evil forces, celestial beings, guardian spirits of the earth, and the Lord of death, may those who are friendly, indifferent, or hostile, may all beings receive the blessings of my life. May they soon attain the threefold bliss and realize the deathless through the goodness that arises from my practice, and through this act of sharing. May all desires and attachments quickly cease, and all harmful states of mind, until I realize Nibbana in every kind of birth. May I have an upright mind with mindfulness and wisdom,
austerity and vigor. May the forces of delusion not take hold, nor weaken my resolve. The Buddha is my excellent refuge. Unsurpassed is the protection of the Dhamma. The solitary Buddha is my noble guide. The Sangha is my supreme support. Through the supreme power of all these, may darkness and delusion be dispelled. So, a few things. As most of you know, in our tradition, we don't touch money, don't use money. Everything here is freely offered. So there's a bunch of wonderful people who brought food to share. Please partake of it. It's in the back. There's books in the back. They're all for free. Please take some. If you aren't wearing a name tag, consider making one and write on both sides of it because it flips around and then it's really awkward. Good. Just so people can recognize you. Additionally, one thing we often do is if you've been with us 3 times or less, if you're new and are feeling a bit brave, if you wouldn't mind raising your hand and just saying your name and how you heard about us so we can sort of get to know you just a little bit. Please. Welcome, Patricia. Beautiful. Thank you for actually coming and visiting and being part of the community. Judith's been with us for years now, and it's an honor to meet her mother. Yeah. Who else? Please. Thank you. Thanks for visiting us, Randall. Welcome. Who here listens to Ajahn Sucitto at all? Yeah, if you haven't, he's amazing. I once met a man who his point of pride was he'd listen to every Longpa Sucitto talk ever given. It's a worthy goal. Welcome. Okay. That's a great introduction. Welcome, Taylor. Great. Welcome. How much longer are you in Seattle for? Okay. Get him while he's here, people. Brian. Absolutely. You know the intersection of these two traditions in a way that I don't think many do, of the First Nations and Buddhism. If you get a chance, if Judith could bring you up here after, we'd love to talk to you. It's rare we would get a chance to do that. That would mean a lot, actually. Okay. So, and thank you, everyone. And many of you have begun to feel this. You've been here for years. Others are just coming, but there's something very special manifesting here in Clear Mountain. I genuinely feel that. And there's a phrase that people use to celebrate the Buddha's teachings when they've been inspired, and they say it's as if what had been turned upside down has been turned upright, as if what had been covered has been uncovered, as if the Blessed One had lit a lamp for those in the dark with eyes to see. And in each of those analogies, there's this sense of it's not something new being given, it's something which has been hidden being recognized again. And for me, that's always a sense of when you come back to the Dhamma, is the sense of recognizing something so deep in you that it feels like home. And, you know, Longpo Sumedo, he was in the Navy, and he read the first page of What the Buddha Taught by Bhante Rahula, and just thought, oh, I'm a Buddhist. And just to say, you know, no matter what level your faith is at, or just if you're here for the meditation, you're welcome, but I really do think there's something very precious about hearing people. This is not an accessory, you know, this can be a path towards true purification of the heart, and having a space where we can come together and actually celebrate that is worth a great deal. So thank you, everyone who shared and came. And let's do aho. 3 ahos. Aho, aho, aho. Okay, good. Okay. Thank you, everyone. We encourage you, if you haven't, as you we do the social hour, please feel free to approach someone you haven't spoken to yet and cultivate a new relationship. If you're on Zoom, feel free to stick around for Zoom coffee hour. If you want to sign up for the robe offering, the sheets are in the back. Our main Clear Mountain sign broke, so we have a new one, but if you want an old Clear Mountain sign to cover your whole doorway, talk to Jessica, wherever she is, over there. We have an extra one. Once again, Pasadi Vihara, help look after our siblings. And for the robe offering, we usually gather people for a chance. If you want to give gifts to the visiting monastics, it's a precious chance to come together and give them something on behalf of the community. If you want to be part of that giving, as a kind of special gift, talk to Kate right there. And she's organizing all the gifts. Those who want to bow can. And we can wave goodbye to our friends on Zoom, including James. See you, James. Good.
ขอบคุณครับอาจารย์
Hey, Zoom friends, whoever's hanging out, just wait a second and see who stays.